I am Progression's founder, Moshe Chaim Davidovich, and today we're going to be looking over the entirety of the site. First thing I want to get out of the way right off the bat, almost everybody I've shown this site to has been like, oh my god, I have to log in. I have to create an account to use a site that's going to save my account information and stuff like that. Don't be lazy. We all have to create an account to use this site. I know people are like, oh, but create a version where I can try it out without using an account. Make an account. It's free. I don't get why y'all are such lazy bums. Okay, with that out of the way, we're starting with the dashboard and with stories, because while there is a crap load of stuff that I have here to show you, as well as the stuff here in the user profile, which makes it even more complicated, this is going to be a long tutorial. The story stuff is what's most important. So you guys are basically going to get a sneak peek into the novel that I'm currently working on, Made to be Broken. Okay, so you click on the story and you wait for it to load. Up here, you have the title. Here is the word count. This word count listed here takes all of the word counts from all progression notes that you've put content in the story content boxes of, and all scenes. Here you can see your word count goal. If you click set/c word count goal, if you want to change or set a goal, you can just click set goal, click save, and you can also create deadlines. It tells you how far you're into the story, what your deadline is, and how long you have left. Here you have the cover of your story. Adding a cover to a story changes how the story looks when you put it up for beta reading or when you put it up for sale. In your dashboard, in the mood board, tons of pages have mood boards. You can add images, audio, text, or links. The story subpage that I'm sure you all are most interested in hearing about. Now there's a document above this tutorial, in the tutorial page, that will show you how progressions are actually used in the process of coming up with ideas for plotting your stories. So I won't get into that right now. Let's take a look at professional/teaching decline. As we can see here, the progression also has a cover. It's not very important to add something here. You can add affected characters. I haven't done this for any progression because I've already been thinking about this story for so long that I already know where things start and where things end. But when you're just starting a story yourself, getting used to plotting things this way, I'd recommend using the point A and point B yourself instead of just staring at them blankly. Don't put free as your description. I was using this to test the commenting feature. Let me add back in the free. I want to comment hello on free. Save. Here's my comment. I can click it, reply to it. As you can see, by the way, when you open up a text box, it goes to the top of your screen. So it will always follow you around no matter where you move. You scroll down a whole bunch, it will always be there. But as you see, here you click on here, you see the comment, you can reply to it, you can delete it if you're the owner of the story or if you made the comment yourself. Commenting is also a pro feature. You need to be subscribed to Progressions Pro, or the owner of the story needs to be subscribed to Progressions Pro for you to be able to leave comments. Now let's click on Open Progression Notes and look at the notes of this progression. As you can see, as we open up a particular note, we'll see the title and a cover and a description and a story content with all the same kinds of text boxes that you can comment on and blah, 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 blah. However, there are a few specific things I'd like to go over. One thing, setting status. You can set the status of both progression notes and scenes. You can set it to needs planning, planned, needs editing, or done. Now, if you select the status, oh, apparently it does change here. Well, what do you know? It works. It doesn't work on the scene page, and it will show up if you look at the grid view cards, which is what they're called by base 44. If you go back to progression notes and you see them listed in the grid, if you look at each box, it will have its status listed somewhere near the bottom, and also if you look in the storyline, it'll show it if you click on the circle of the note or of the scene. We'll get into that when we get to the storyline, but essentially this is a way for you to know whether you need to plan, whether you need to write, what you need to do as well. Scenes and progression notes say here in storyline alignment which scenes and progression notes the progression note or scene is aligned with in the storyline. And I'm sure you're wondering what the hell I mean by aligned with. We'll also get into that. Yet another thing specific to both scenes and progression notes, we have the read aloud feature. If we click here and click on an AI voice and click read aloud, it won't do anything here because there's no actual text in our box right now. But if there were text, then that AI voice would be reading that text aloud right now. Read aloud is also a pro feature. We'll get into it. Returning to the main story page, I would like to point out a couple of pro features. Well, export manuscript isn't itself a pro feature. Any user with any subscription plan can download the text of any story as a PDF, plain text, or rich text file to Marketplace. We'll get into in a while. That is a pro feature. Another thing that's a pro feature, duplicating your story. This is nothing fancy. It just creates a duplicate of your story in your dashboard. It has the exact same title, exact same descriptions, exact same cover, exact same everything. Given that notes and locations and characters are all, to be honest, very similar in their functionality, because you don't need things to be complicated when you're making a tool like this. I think a lot of other tools really overcomplicate things. Let's take a look at the other subpage that's actually very important, the storyline. So the storyline is actually multiple storylines. This is the main storyline. You can't change the title of this. This is, as it sounds, the main storyline. This is where all of the scenes that you've added go. And you see if you click the circle, this little thing here of a scene or of a progression note, it shows you its title, status, and a button to go to its page. And by grabbing this box here, you can switch it in position with progressions that you have in the storyline as well, because each of these lines is also a progression. Here we have the show titles button. Currently show titles is off. Click it on. There's a little boxy box that shows above or below each circle that shows its title. And in this boxy box, we have the reminder box. It's just a little text box. You can type in your reminders, and then they're saved. For example, if we go back to the offer here, the offer is made here. We're all shocked. This little reminder just basically reminds you what the scene/progression note is, because definitely staring at this weird circly line texty boxy thing all day long, you're gonna forget. Progression notes and scenes work differently with moving them around. Scenes move in full steps. This certain distance between each other. Progression notes can move full steps, which will put them in alignment potentially with scenes, or you can move them a half step, and this puts them right between scenes. That's for if you have a progression note that's not actually happening as part of a larger scene. It's like its own mini scene, so to speak, but it's not really a scene because it works better organizationally if you just declare it to be part of this progression, because that's what it's there to advance, and you just put it in the middle here. It's not like aligned with this note in this other progression and this scene, because you can have tons and tons of progression notes aligned with a scene and they just all part of the scene. It's its own little thing in the middle. It can also align with other progression notes, so you can have that sort of form its own scene together, but do keep in mind they can move differently than scenes can. Section lines. Let's click to add. Usually added down here. A section line it's literally just a line that runs up and down. And you can click here and put a title into your section of the story. This could be the first act. I personally don't really use 3-act structure, but if you wanted to, or if you wanted to use the Save the Cat story structure or anything like that, it's very easy to split stories into structures because you can just make a line and now it's a section. This was me being lazy with coding because this was the easiest thing to implement. So there you have it. You have a line instead of templates like other tools have. You're welcome. Now that we've been over what stories are actually like, we can just skip over the Support Us, Contact, About, Writing Course, Tutorial, and Testimonials pages, because those ones really, if you need a tutorial in order to know how to use any of those pages, you're too dumb to be writing a book. So let's just focus on the Story Marketplace and beta reading pages, because those are the pages that you might not be sure how to use. Let's start with beta reading because it's the simplest. Now, as you can see, since I'm basically my only user at the time of filming, there are no matching stories that anybody has put up in the beta reading marketplace that match my beta reading preferences. We'll get into that when we get to the profile. Let's say I want to put up a story myself. Let me click Find Beta Readers, and this loads a view of all the stories I have. Let's say I want to find beta readers for Made to be Broken. I can click on it, and I come to this page where the title is already in here, and I put in the synopsis, genre, whether or not it's plot/character driven. If you don't know what that means, I really recommend you look it up because it's a very, very useful tool when it comes to organizing and talking about stories. Its word count is in here, its tone/moods, target age, maximum reading time, content warning. Payment is optional. I recommend that you offer payments to beta readers because they're going to be a lot more motivated to actually put effort into beta reading and actually meet your deadlines. And I think it's just the industry standard that beta readers for serious novels actually do get paid. But you don't need to pay them a lot because they're probably just casual randoms on the internet and aren't going to care that much. But here we have published story. I don't even care. I'm not putting details in. I'm just publishing it. But I have to fill out the required fields. Oh no, sucks. So let's not publish this one today. The actual story marketplace. This is where you will not be beta reading unfinished stories, but find actual finished stories that you can buy online. And yes, you can sell your own stories on Progressions if you're subscribed to Progressions Pro. That's also a Pro feature. Clicking here gives you advice for how to do it if you're on Pro. If you're not on Pro, it just tells you to go get subscribed already. You can find stories. Nobody's put any up yet because it's a ghost town in here. Start using this thing, folks. You can click the search filters, which are very similar to beta reading preferences, which we will get into. And let's go to your stories, because I put up one of my own stories, and then I paid myself for it, just so I could show this to you guys. So here we have listed every single story that you have ever bought from anybody. Even if they take it off the story marketplace, even if they delete it, you still own it. So you click on the story, and you can open it up, and it has the cover, and the title, and the synopsis, and the chapters. And it has read aloud for each chapter, or you can click here and uncollapse the chapter and just read the whole thing yourself. An important note, there's no stories here for me to show you with, but if you go to the actual page of a story that's up for sale on the story marketplace and you read the story, you pay for it, you read it, and you don't like it or you do like it, leave a comment, please. It really helps. That's how people who come to the story are going to know whether or not they're about to get fleeced, which I imagine a lot of people will try to do, to be honest, or if it's actually a good story. It's just like how it works on a YouTube video or anything like that. You just go to the bottom of the page and then you click to leave a comment. The page itself, when you click on a grid view card in the grid view of all the stories under Find Stories, it's just the same as clicking on the grid view card of a beta reading story. It shows you the cover and the title and all the other information. I shouldn't need to explain that to y'all. Now let's take a look at the user profile, which you can access by clicking on your username or picture here. This is the user profile of my account that is subscribed to Progressions Pro. If you're not subscribed to Progressions Pro, you are not going to see any of this stuff here. You're not going to see Manage Pro Subscription or the Marketplace Payout section. You're just going to see a button that says Go Pro. And clicking on that button will tell you all about the features that Pro offers, and it's only $3 a month, so don't be a cheapskate. However, most of the features are the same between Pro and non-Pro accounts. This site is almost entirely usable without Pro. Pro is just all the extra stuff. So with Marketplace Payouts, if you want to set up Stripe Connect, which you need to do if you want to actually receive money for stories that you sell on Progressions, click Update Stripe Details. Click the button that takes you to Stripe through this site. Because if you just go to Stripe directly and set up a regular Stripe account or a regular Stripe Connect account, it doesn't matter. If you didn't sign up through the specific link that this website gives you, it will not be connected to this website, and Progressions won't be able to use that account number, and you will not actually be able to receive payments. Speaking of payments, I should probably just quickly mention, Progressions takes a 5% fee of all sales. 5% of the revenue goes to Progressions, 95% goes to you. If you don't like that, don't sell on Progressions. Up here, clicking Manage Pro Subscription just allows you to change your subscription status in case you want to quit your Pro subscription. Looking at what's called the profile itself, you have your profile picture, you have your border thingy around it, which you can only put on if you're subscribed to Pro, and the wallpaper. The wallpaper only affects the public profile, which we'll get into. Now, if you click here in Edit Beta Reading Preferences, you'll see all of your beta reading preferences listed. These basically filter out all of the stories that are suggested for you when you search for stories to beta read. So if you only have this much time, you select this week's. If you select what kind of content you're comfortable with. Here on the user profile, I've listed all of the stories that are shared with you. Now in the dashboard, there are 3 dots that are in the corner of the grid view card of every single story. If you click on those 3 dots, there's a button to manage the access for users to your story, and there's another to delete the story. We'll take a look at that button in a minute, but here you can just click on every story that you have access to, whether that be viewer, commenter, or editor, and open it up, and you have listed your public stories that you've listed for beta reading, and the stories that you have put up for sale. And up here at the top, you have the button to update your public profile, because whenever you, say, change your profile down here, or whenever you set a story up for beta reading or for sale, sometimes it updates, sometimes it doesn't, but in large part, the public profile relies on you as the user pushing information to it, so it's a good idea to click Update Public Profile regularly. Let's copy our public profile link and take a look at the public profile itself. Here we are in the public profile. As you can see, you have your sidebar here if you're logged in. However, the public profile, while it is accessible, for example, from the pages of public beta reading stories or stories that you put up for sale, where in your user bio, which is also shown on those pages, there's a little button where people can click to go see your public profile. Anybody, anywhere on the internet, whether or not they're logged into Progressions, can look at your public profile. However, they won't have a dashboard, of course, if they're not logged in. Now, the public profile is very useful for your own branding because it's basically your own site, so to speak, as a writer. It has the background, which is the wallpaper that you set in your own user profile. I literally just set it to be this exploding house thingy that is the cover of my book because I'm so dang creative, and I'm definitely not obsessed with the book I'm currently working on. And it has your profile picture, and your banner, and your name, and your bio, and it has these 4 subsections: for sale, for beta reading, my story, and mood board. We're on my story, so we'll start with that part. To add basically your biography, why you got into writing, why you did all these things, blah, 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 blah. You click add story section. This is the only way I could make it work. So yeah, you basically just add it as separate sections, but I suppose that works well for a lot of people, so we'll make do with it. As you can see, my life story that is completely summed up in the letter F. Here's the mood board. You can put images, links, text. It's like literally any other mood board. This one you'll probably use less so to put in little flowery text boxes and images and stuff, and more so to put in your personal links. Although I recommend adding personality. People like that for some reason. I'm a robot, so I don't really understand. But personality tends to work these days for some reason. For beta reading, just lists all of the stories that you have up for beta reading. And for sale, you see these things are in here because I haven't clicked update public profile since I took them down. So there you have it, kids. Click update public profile. Please do it. You will confuse people if you don't. Now, to give you a little sneak peek into that sharing functionality I told you about before. Here you have your 3 buttons. Don't click delete story unless you hate it. Click manage access. You can copy the link to a story. If you haven't given people actually the access to a story here, they're not going to be able to open it. They need to have an account that has specifically been given access. To give access to people, it's not going to give you a suggestions list like Google Docs does when you try to share with other people. You have to actually type in the name of the other person, their address, and then hit enter. And it will enter it no matter who it is. Then when somebody else tries to enter your story or goes to stories shared with you, they will see that this person and this site, for that matter, don't exist. So let's get rid of them. Now here you have status, editor, commenter, and viewer. This works literally exactly like it does in Google Docs, so I don't have to explain those. Save changes, to save any changes you make, you do have to click that. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, what the hell, it's not working, and whine to me because I didn't click save changes. But if you don't click save changes, it's on you. Okay, we are back in the story page. Let's take a look at what it means to export your story to the marketplace. It is actually, at the end of the day, even though it looks very different, very similar to setting a story up to put it in the beta reading marketplace. You see that first page where it was analyzing conflicts? That's something it asks you to do when you try to export a story and there's scenes and progression notes that are occupying the same spot. You got to tell it which comes first in the text of the story. Now, here we have our chapter organizer. Add a chapter here. Let's name it Fee, Fi, Fo, Fum, because we're like that. The chapter builder is, well, where you divvy up in order the parts of your story, which is to say the scenes and progression notes, into chapters. This affects both how the story looks when people open it up in their My Stories tab of their Story Marketplace page, where they read it, where they bought it on the site through their own account, and what the text of the story is like when people buy it as a PDF or rich text file when they're not logged in. And yes, That's a thing people can do. People don't actually have to be logged into Progressions to buy your stories. Scenes and progression notes can only be added in order as they appear in the storyline and as you've fixed them up to appear so and you've managed the conflicts. So it's really recommended to have them already in their proper positions and double, triple check to make sure that they are before you start trying to put it up for sale. Now, I don't want to actually sell this story, not quite yet at least, so we'll hit back and return to our dashboard. And there you have it. That's every feature of the Progressions plotting system, or at least every big important feature that you should need me to explain to you. Like I said, the other stuff, if you need me to explain to you, you're too dumb to be writing a book anyways. So, at this point, I babbled at you for long enough. Go write something. I'm mildly interested to see what you create next.